far enough, it's because you needed the experience. Regardless to what motivated the need for the experience. That's what people get twisted at.
Yeah.
Because
They
now
try
you
to
don't
understand the need
that's
behind
right.
the experience.
Don't worry about that.
Yep.
Just know you need the experience.
Yep.
Because once you try to implement why,
Yep.
that's where you mess up.
When you wind up learning that, that's when you start developing the idea that
The
plants
ego.
aren't alive.
The ego.
Yep. Exactly.
That's exactly what happened. Because see, when you know, you don't have to ask why.
Exactly.
And the only way you're going to know is that you start off knowing that you are God. And
knowing
then
is the elimination of the need for faith.
that's right. The eradication is faith. The eradication of faith comes after knowing.
Yep.
Now, when you know something, you have no need for faith anymore.
Yep.
Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
See what I'm saying?
You are absolutely right.
Okay, so we done got to the point where we done jumped off of the topic, but I need to go and really hit home about why we need to return to the essence of the woman being a goddess essence, and the eradication of that and the discarding of that is the major reason for the earth suffering the way that it is. See, tornadoes, hurricane, whirlwinds, and anything that comes as a method of weather comes in a spiral pattern. We know that, right?
Yep.
Okay. We live in a universe that people believe is steadfast in one position in space. That's not true. The problem is that while we move, everything else in space moves. And the reason why we all move is because our pattern of projection is in spirals, just like the spiral on your fingertips. Like the spiral on the seashells, like the spiral in the ocean when you see the waves rise and drop, you know. Those spirals, that cyclonic rhythm, the same when you know what I'm saying? When you're reproducing, when you're cooking food, when the water is going down the drain in the sink. When all weather patterns, the hair on us melanated people spirals. That's why it's so nappy, because it spirals and nap up.
Didn't you explain to me one time the connection between the Egyptians' serpent and the spiral? Wasn't there a connection that you had made once?
Well,
with the serpentine pattern?
The serpentine pattern, according to all life, most philosophical demonstrations, is all based on life energies from the Kundalini rise up and down the spinal column. The Kundalini energies in the chakra system, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the serpent ideal, mostly that's in life, is from the constellations of the serpent that has been pretty much really made confusing under European rhetoric. But the whole ideal of a serpent being in the garden with Adam and Eve, that serpent is, to me, now this is to my finding, the serpent to me is never something that should be a zoomorphic, synonymous representation of evil. Serpent, in my book, is a representation of God enlightenment. It is how the snake in Christian mythology slides on his belly as a representation of something that used to walk and has fallen. It's not the way I see it at all. The serpent, to me, is always a representation of enlightenment, wisdom, and perpetuation of life, because the main thing that a serpent can do is show you how it can change by leaving its skin.
Right. And go ahead.
See, it'll leave its skin, and when you come and find a snake has shed its skin, that means it's become a new snake. So the Uraeus energy that I'm talking about, once it peaks up here on the top, like they had the thing up there on the top of their head, the snake like that, like what she's got right here. Once that energy reaches up there, the reason she has the snake there is because she's saying, I am vibrating on the highest knowledge attainable for anything encapsulated in these bodies.
Right. That's the Kemetic teaching, correct?
That's the Kemetic teaching. That's Uraeus serpent power, means that you are vibrating with your pineal gland. and you are not seeing things through these physical eyes. You are using your spirituality to navigate through life.
Since this question is based on the topic of the interpretation of the biblical scripture, why is the serpent in the Bible depicted as a source of evil?
The serpent is depicted as a source of evil in the Bible because the Europeans told the lie that outside of Adam being evil, there had to be another evil. See, let me explain to you. There had to be a contributing evil in the garden to entice Eve to do wrong. In other words, patriarchal again. See, now watch. Now I'm going to break it. Serpent looking like a penis. Okay? You see the thing? You could call your penis your snake, right? Okay, now watch. It wasn't the European man that made Eve go wrong. No, he was godly. Could not sin. He told the woman, God told you, don't you piss God off. I've been here all this time by myself. Remember, he was in the garden by himself first. Him and the snake. But the snake tried over and over to entice, not Adam, but Adam, over and over. But Adam was wiser than the snake because he's the white man. Do you see? But when the white lady came along, she had to be flawed. She had to be defective. She had to be something that was less than him. So to prove that that's who she was, they invented the snake. Now the Africans had the snake. It was just a movement of the constellations. Whenever the snake came into play in mythology, it was something that was a part of resurrection, a completion, new start.
Right.
With them, the snake came into the garden, said, "Little bitch, you gonna eat that apple, and then you gonna give it to Adam." So Mr. Perfect Adam got victimized by the snake and his woman. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The snake tried forever to get at me. I was too powerful, I was too strong, I was too godly. If it wasn't for him sending Eve down here, and if it wasn't for the snake, there would be no sin on there. But we on the earth, and we see who's doing all the sin. So that's a real smoke screen.
Right. Since we were on the topic of the snake and...
Right, but wait, it gets better too.
Go ahead.
Since you brought that up, let me share this with you. The whole dragon thing of Europe, with them slaying the dragon, right? And who is it? Saint Peter, Saint Paul, all of them. They on a horse, and they killing the dragon,
right?
And the dragon breathe fire. First of all, there's no natural predators in Europe because Europe snows. It gets frozen, so you don't have no lizards or nothing like that running around. They could get big enough to be a threat. You don't have no crocodiles. You don't have no alligators. So they stole Nile Valley stories of Tutankhamun and Harut. Listen, I'm going to show you better than I tell you. Okay, this is Tutankhamun. The Bible tells you in the Lord's Prayer, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. There's the staff, there go the rod. They stole that right from Egypt. Now, thy rod and thy staff, thy rod right here, and the mythology, I'll show you the books later, he's standing on a boat with the rod, stabbing a crocodile with it. Other pictures, he's stabbing a hippopotamus. What that is the spiritual essence of knowledge giving you the power over the adversities that life will send at you. Remember, we're here for experiences.
Right, and it's important that you recognize that it's adversities, not dominion over the earth, but the adversities.
Adversities that come with
you have
life.
Dominion over.
That's right. The adversities. That means the parasites, the quest for food, the quest for love, the desire to stay warm, the need for housing. All these things are adversities that only sustain and justify life. If you don't have those things going on, it's probably because you don't have a life. Now, after studying in Kemet, the teaching showed them how to look at adversities as if they are very, very necessary and something that you should not have any ill feelings toward. You attack your adversities with joy because they are the counterbalance of life. They are the only thing who can prove that you are actually experiencing something, adversity. Imagine a life where nothing ever went wrong. You'd be bored to death.
Literally.
Literally bored to death.
Without adversity, there's no life.
There's no life. Okay. So now, since they studied in Kemet, and the pictures in Kemet was all about these black people fighting their adversities through zoomorphic demonstrations of pictorials, they needed one for Europe. Only problem was, no natural predators of Europe.
And the only one that they did have is their sacred.
Is that sacred wolf.
Yep.
Which me and you both know they are not going to attack no dogs. Not after all the good shit the dogs did for them.
Right.
Okay? But the thing is this. They created a predator, and the predator they created was the fire-breathing dragon. The need for him to be breathing fire
Is because
was go ahead.
lizards are cold-blooded creatures, so a lizard can't survive in a harsh European winter.
But if it can breathe
But
fire,
if it could breathe fire, then it can continue to be cold-blooded, and it will have a source that will keep it heated so that it can survive a winter, and it will also make it an extra dangerous predator.
and that's absolutely right. Now, this is what's funny about that too, because spirit ain't no joke. It shows you that the dragon, even though it lived in a place that was unsuited to sustain this type of existence, it came with its own life support system on board. So no matter where it went, it was self-sustaining because of the energy that was inside of it. So now, if the dragon could have an energy source that's inside of it that can give it life and supply it with some shit to keep it from freezing in cold as Europe, even though it's a reptile, then how come the same energy source that's in each and every one of us when we're born as a baby is not sufficient for us to recognize as our God source? Why do we have to look to an image of some fucker on the cross as our God?
As our God,
I'll tell you why. Because it got beat into your head when you was in a slave camps.
Yep.
And
For
because of
400
fear,
years.
the mothers of our race is still perpetuating that garbage to us.
Not to mention, I have recently discovered through the use of the internet that one of the slave ships that brought Africans from Africa to America was actually named Jesus.
The good ship Jesus.
Yep.
And the slave camp of Ghana that they stored the slaves in until it was enough to bring the ships in. Because see, you got to understand, those were cargo ships. So they couldn't come and sit in port forever and wait on enough freight. So what they did is they will stockpile people.
Yeah.
Like me. My
Like
hustle is
livestock.
I get all my stuff and put it in my trailer and wait till I get a full trailer. They was doing the same thing. They literally had the Africans to build a fort for them.
Yeah.
And then, you know what was funny? Me and my friend, we was thinking about the Africans building the fort. They said, "Yo, you just stand there, build it." And then when they put the last brick in, they looked around and
They were inside of it. That is funny.
well, the white man ain't no joke.
You building a fort to store Africans,
And then
as soon as you're done, because you are African, as soon as you're done,
not just African, a Mason.
you wind up in the actual construction in that spirit.
Listen, it's a joke. Because feel me, I don't want to cut you off, but I want you to feel it the whole way it go. They got the Masons. They hired them.
Yep.
We want you to build a fort for us. So the Masons, they educated. You know, they told all the lies that, you know, masonry is something the Europeans invented, but Freemasonry was not invented by them. Because if Freemasonry was invented by them, they still be building pyramids. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that the people who brought masonry to the world was the Egyptians of the Nile Valley.
Yeah.
We know that. Okay, here's the joke. Me and my friend in LA was rolling. He said the white man came through. He was like, "Yo, what it do, man? We got a little project over here in Ghana. We gonna build a fort." He didn't tell them what kind of fort.
Yeah.
So they had their little compasses and stuff. They was like, "So how much you gonna give? We gonna break you up. We got you. The Queen of Britain gonna pay you." They like, okay. They go in, they building the thing, right? But they not used to people being treacherous and shit like that. So they probably camping out, sleeping, doing their thing. They done went to construction sites before and did that. Nothing ever went wrong. They ain't know about the white man though. After they put that last brick in and found out they had